Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Mentor by Lee Matthew Goldberg, which I got for part of the book tour by Black Crow Publishing, so thank you to them for letting me participate. It was great fun. So this is a really disturbing novel, trigger warnings galore for practically everything, so it's for those with the strong stomachs. If you're interested in learning a bit more about it, carry on watching the video. This was such a good novel. It follows the dark descending spiral into chaos that begins when Kyle's old Professor William Lansing, and mentor, gets back in touch after hearing Kyle's big successes in the publishing industry. His professor is basically a key component in getting him through university. He took him on as sort of a protege and really had quite an impact in his life. They lost touch, and after seeing him in their local newspaper, William reaches out to meet for dinner. Kyle is over the moon to hear from one of his favourite people that really helped him during a tough time during his life, and is eager to be reacquainted with each other, so he invites him over for dinner. Get back on track, catch up over good times, and so that the professor can meet his girlfriend Jamie. The professor has a kind of ulterior motive in the fact that he actually wants Kyle to read this massive manuscript that he has been labouring over for a decade, and he truly believes it has a shot of being published. So what better than for the teacher and the student to pair up and get this work published together. From then on, Kyle is thrown into his very own thriller, and his sanity is shaken to its very core as he unravels the truth behind the disappearance of a girl that he was very close with a decade previously, and tries to figure out how much involvement Kyle himself had in this unsolved mystery, and how much is a part of this twisted cat and mouse game he's found himself stuck in. I absolutely love to hate William. It's no surprise, it says it in the synopsis. He does get very obsessive and very vindictive when this kind of meeting doesn't go to plan, when his, the work that he's toiled and poured his blood and tears and soul into doesn't meet with the response that he was expecting. He gets cruel, he gets scary, and I loved hating that about him. I loved to see how his character completely warped. It did a complete flip, and it left you second guessing, like, was that real? His character study was unhinged. He was depraved in his motives and ravings and all the sort of descriptions and fantasies that he was writing about in his opus. It just, it fueled you with nightmares. It was horrifying. Some of it was subtle and some of it was so obvious that the contrast between the two was so unsettling, because you just wondered, how was he able to switch between those kind of personalities so quickly, yet leave you thinking that nothing strange had occurred in the first place, and then you'd end up getting into that paranoia. So you really felt that you were in Kyle's shoes, because I could totally see how Kyle felt manipulated and gaslit, and how is nobody else seeing this? How am I going crazy? How is no one else seeing the threat that I am seeing from this guy that's come into my life supposing to be a optimistic thing and is turning around like this? Even in how William's facial expressions were described, slowly warped and just felt really eerie and unsettling. It was that master manipulator. Like, sometimes you were like, yeah, he's definitely doing it on purpose. Other times you were like, is he even aware? Is he even in control of what his own face is doing? Yeah, I also loved how William's laugh was described as well. Each time it was like a slow shifting in the light from its charismatic kind of charm that he had to this sinister, unhinged personality trope. Kyle, who's kind of like our hero of the story, he took such a hit and had the best character growth in the whole thing, I would say. What he went through was so mind altering, so mind breaking, as it threw his career, his relationships, both personal and professional, and life on the line. Yet he persevered, again, as our hero narrative, and it was absolutely fascinating to see this kind of modernisation of that old classic good versus evil, especially when you know, you've got that morally grey area of what is good, where does the line cross? Because Kyle, you'd look at him and you'd think, like, he wouldn't be my kind of person. Like, he's super career driven to the fact that he really neglects his girlfriend, like his personal relationships. He gets absorbed too much so with his clientele, and he just seems a bit like I don't know, snobbish, big-headed. He just doesn't seem like my kind of person. So when you now have that as the perspective of being your good in this fight for good and evil, it just changes everything on its head and really makes you think more of, you know, people in a deeper format, I would say. The conversations on love and how far one will go to obtain that was absolutely frightening, especially when it was coming from this perspectives of like the ravings of a madman, so to speak. You kind of really see this fast decline in certain characters where you're like, how is this love? This is obsession now, but how can you not see how you've shifted, how you've declined so quickly? It was really interesting to see. And then of course we have on the flip side struggles with love, struggles to open up to those that are supposed to be closer to you for whatever reason, you know, trauma in your background, other things taking priority, and just maybe not even realizing, just complete ignorance to the situation and not realizing how much that is hurting the other half. All those different themes revolving around love was fascinating, and I didn't think I would get such in-depth feelings about that going into this gory thriller. And trust me, it was gory. It was really disgusting in some of the like body horror and descriptors. So yeah, but that was some stellar pause for thought, definitely. It was such a vivid read, and as I say, there were scenes where, trust me, I did not want to be feeling like I was there because of what was being said and what I was seeing on the page, but the way that I felt transported in some of these scenes was frightening. The author had such a way with the words, like it felt so like rich, and I just like I felt myself needing more, and I was pacing through so quickly through the words. I couldn't read fast enough, I felt. I would say this part could be considered a spoiler, however it's something I would have liked to know. You're probably going to be like, wow, how hypocritical, because, you know, the whole content of this is how debased people can be, you know, how cruel people can be, and some of the things that were acted out in this was absolutely vile. But my little mind draws the line at animal cruelty, and there was a scene in here which I felt emotionally, I was like, this serves no purpose. I didn't need to read that, and I would be completely turned off by that. But it was so sort of fleeting that I couldn't, like, fleeting and shocking, like it was completely unexpected, and there wasn't another scene of animal cruelty again. But logically, I know that it was used in a way that, you know, if someone can do something like that to an innocent animal that has no, you know, no need to be involved in it whatsoever, it makes you wonder what they can do to a human being that they feel they've been slighted by, mistreated, ridiculed, rejected by. It ramps that up. So I understand logically like why it was used. It helped to build this character, and again to show how completely out of control they were getting in what they felt was justice, and to get their point across, and still thought that things was going their way by going so far, you know. But at the same time, emotionally, I was like, no, I don't want to read that. So if any of you animal lovers also are out there and you kind of like those sort of heads up, I'd say, you know, be warned. But it is a very fleeting small portion of it that really is kind of glazed over. Overall, this was a fantastic novel that I could not read fast enough. Every time I put it down, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't wait until the next time I could pick it back up again. But ultimately, I also didn't want to finish it, so I sort of tried to drag it out a little bit because I didn't want it to end. I was really enjoying my time in this book. It was disturbing, suspenseful, and fast-paced, and our characters were so fleshed out that it was scary. Once again, I say, I felt completely transported into the storyline, and I really got into our characters' head, especially William's uncomfortably so, and Kyle's. I definitely recommend this to anyone who has a strong stomach and likes their really dark, creepy thriller mysteries. And horror, I guess it could count as horror. There's a lot of body gore, body horror in there. Anyway, thanks again to the publishers for letting me participate into this book tour, and you're gonna have to let me know if you guys have picked this up, if you have an interest in reading it at any point too. But for now, I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye!